every presidential election cycle since we began tracking this data, the candidate with a higher favorability rating was victorious in the popular vote. That might seem obvious enough, as common sense suggests that the more popular candidate should be favored to win. It doesn't take an advanced data science degree to suggest that candidates who are viewed more favorably by the electorate tend to secure more votes. Yet while all of the attention right now is focused on former Republican President Donald Trump's consistent lead over President Biden in national head-to-head surveys, less attention has been paid to the net favorability ratings of the two leading contenders. What's often overlooked is how closely these two presumptive nominees are matched in terms of net favorability. That is, the difference between the proportion of voters who have a favorable or unfavorable opinion of them. According to Real Clear Politics, Joe Biden's net favorability is at negative 15.4, with an average of 39.6% of respondents expressing a favorable view of the Democrat, against 55% with a negative view. Donald Trump's net favorability, meanwhile, is slightly better, at negative 13.7%, with 40.8% viewing him favorably compared to 54.5% unfavorably. Another source, Decision Desk HQ/The Hill, places Biden at a net negative of 11.3, with Trump slightly ahead at negative 10.7. When averaged out, Biden's net favorability is negative 13.4%, making him 1.2% less popular than Trump, whose net favorability is negative 12.2%. Reflecting on these same favorability ratings from November 3rd of 2020, the date of the last presidential election between these two same candidates, Joe Biden's net favorability rating was positive at plus 6.2, while Trump's was similar to his current standing at negative 12.7. That is an extraordinarily downward swing for Joe Biden, the incumbent Democrat, and one that we will be using throughout this video in order to fill out this 2024 Electoral College Map. Before delving deeper though, please consider subscribing to my channel down below for more election analyses. My name is Ryan Guest, founder and sole operator of Election Predictions Official. So, going back to the state of the race in 2020, Joe Biden was significantly more popular than Donald Trump headed into Election Day, 19 percentage points more popular to be exact. Now, the tables have turned, with Biden being less popular than Trump, albeit narrowly. That is a major swing that could have major implications on the outcome of the election. Taking a look back at the net favorabilities of the Democratic and Republican nominees in each of the last 4 presidential elections, in 2008, Democrat Barack Obama boasted a net positive favorability of 36, with 65% viewing him favorably compared to 29% unfavorably, against Republican nominee John McCain's net positive 11 favorability rating, 52.3% favorable to 41.5% unfavorable. Obama, of course, won that election with the largest electoral college margin of the 21st century. Such high favorability ratings, though, for presidential candidates are practically unheard of in today's political climate, dominated by unprecedented levels of negative partisanship. But that's a story for another day. In 2012, Obama entered his re-election with a net favorability slightly lower than Mitt Romney's, 4.2% to Romney's 4.8%. Yet Obama had a marginally higher favorability rating of 50.3% compared to Romney's 49.4%. This was the beginning of the end for broadly popular presidential candidates, as the negative opinions of both candidates in 2012 were noticeably higher than in 2008. That trend persisted into 2016, arguably featuring the least popular presidential matchup in American history, until this year, maybe. Hillary Clinton with a net favorability of negative 13 versus Trump's negative 21%. Both were viewed unfavorably by the majority of voters at the time. Fast forward to 2020, as previously discussed, Biden's net favorability was a positive 6, contrasting with Trump's negative 13. Now let's take this data to delve deeper into the analysis of how these favorability ratings correlate with presidential election outcomes, enhancing our understanding through a structured statistical approach. The foundation of this analysis rests on a twofold approach. First, a correlation study, and second, regression modeling. The correlation study aims to uncover the nature of the relationship between net favorability margins and popular vote margins, examining both the strength and direction of this relationship. Regression modeling, on the other hand, seeks to quantify the impact of favorability ratings on election outcomes, offering a predictive insight into how these ratings may influence future elections. The correlation analysis of presidential elections from 1992 to 2020 reveals a significant positive correlation of approximately 0.724 between net favorability difference and the popular vote margin, indicating a strong relationship. Correlations above 0.7 are generally considered strong, as they range from -1 to +1, with values closer to +1 signifying a stronger relationship. Additionally, the p-value of 0.042 suggests that this relationship is statistically significant, as it falls below the commonly accepted significance threshold of 0.05, meaning that essentially, as the net favorability difference between Democratic and Republican candidates increases, the popular vote margin also tends to increase in favor of the candidate with the higher net favorability. Building on this foundation, we proceed to develop a regression model. This model uses the favorability margin as the independent variable and the popular vote margin as the dependent variable, aiming to predict, pretty much, the popular vote margin based on the candidate's net favorability rating. The resulting equation from this model, featuring an intercept of 1.896 and a slope of 0.236, indicates that for each point increase in net favorability difference, the popular vote margin is expected to increase by approximately 0.236 percentage points in favor of the candidate with higher favorability. As such, this model provides a framework for projecting the popular vote margin in the 2024 presidential election based on current favorability ratings and polling data for Donald Trump and Joe Biden. To better illustrate and help you understand how it works, though, let's consider this analogy. Imagine you're running in a race where the more that people cheer for you, the faster you can go. The candidate's favorability rating in this analysis is like the amount of cheering that you get. This study looked at past races to see if runners with more cheers, better favorability ratings, actually finished the race faster or won more votes. We found that, indeed, more cheers means a better chance of winning. Then we tried to predict who would win the next race, 2024, based on how much cheering, favorability, that they are currently getting. So, for the 2024 election, combining the latest data from Real Clear Politics and Decision Desk HQ shows Donald Trump leading Joe Biden by 1.9 percentage points on average, with 45.2% to 43.3%. The net favorability difference is 1.2 points in Trump's favor. And then applying our regression model, we predict an adjustment to the popular vote margin of approximately 2.18 percentage points based on net favorability ratings. This adjustment suggests a revised popular vote margin of about 4.08 percentage points in favor of the candidate with higher net favorability, which, based on the latest polling data, would benefit Donald Trump. Now, with all of that being said, this analysis leads us to consider how a Trump plus 4.08 margin would translate onto the 2024 Electoral College Map, given that the presidency is decided by securing at least 270 electoral votes, not by the national popular vote. I have already filled out this map here based on the 2020 election results in every state, leaving the 14 states that were decided by a margin of less than 10% in that election blank. Democrats begin with a 209 to 125 electoral vote advantage. And so to project the margins in each of these 14 battleground states for the 2024 election in a hypothetical Trump plus 4.08 national environment, we will first adjust the latest EPO 2024 forecast margins for every state. You can check those out for yourself at electionpredictionsofficial.com, based on the difference between the projected national popular vote margin and the latest 2024 national head-to-head polling average. Then we will also be factoring in each state's trends since the 2012 election, as well as its elasticity score, which is a measure created by Nate Silver at 538 of how responsive states and congressional districts are to changes in the national political environment. The relative trend, meanwhile, is simply a calculation of how the state is voted compared to the rest of the country between the 2012 to 2016 and 2016 to 2020 elections, independent of the national shift. Based on this methodology, the adjusted forecasted margins for the 14 battleground states in a Trump plus 4.08 scenario are as follows. Both Iowa and Ohio, once decisive swing states, now reliably Republican states, both shift into the safe Republican column from likely, Iowa at Trump plus 15 and Ohio at Trump plus 14.1. Those are 2.7 and 2.3 point shifts towards Trump from my latest forecast updates, projected margins in these states. Iowa, notably, has the third highest elasticity score of any of these states, suggesting that the state's electoral trends in recent elections have been especially responsive to national shifts. In the upper Midwest and upper Rust Belt region, traditionally known as the Blue Wall of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, Democrats had won each of these states in 6 straight presidential elections between 1992 and 2012, before Trump broke through in 2016, winning Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Joe Biden did win them all back in 2020, but in our statistical analysis, those 3 critical battlegrounds would shift into the lean Republican column in 2024, Wisconsin by a Trump plus 4.4 margin, Michigan by Trump plus 3.2, and Pennsylvania would be Trump plus 2.4. Minnesota would remain in the Biden column, albeit more narrowly by a lean Democrat margin at Biden plus 3.9. Wisconsin and Michigan are notably the 5th and 6th most elastic states out of the 14 battlegrounds, and have shifted, on average, more than 2 points to the right relative to the nation between the 2012 to 2016 and 2016 to 2020 election cycles. Shifting over to the Northeast, both New Hampshire and Maine remain in the Biden camp, though like in Minnesota, the margins here drop pretty dramatically to Biden plus 3.2 in New Hampshire and Biden plus 4.3 in Maine. Maine's 2nd congressional district, though, remains in likely Republican territory at Trump plus 10.8, a 2.5 point bump for Trump from the EPO forecast margin. While we're on the congressional district matter as well, Nebraska's 2nd district would drop from Biden plus 3.4 to Biden plus 1.1, falling into the tilt Democrat column. Down in the Southeast, all 3 states would go to Trump. North Carolina is Trump plus 6.3, Georgia Trump plus 3.7, and Florida Trump plus 11.1. This is some pretty significant movement compared to the 2020 results in these states, where Trump won North Carolina by 1.5, lost Georgia by 0.2, and won Florida by 3.4. North Carolina and Georgia will lean Republican, Florida is likely Trump. Shifting across the Sun Belt to Texas, Arizona, and Nevada, Trump once again would win all 3 of these states, Texas by 10 points, Arizona by 4.2 points, and Nevada by 3.8%. That means that Texas joins Florida as likely Republican, while Arizona and Nevada lean towards Trump. So that gives the former president a grand total of 312 electoral votes, well above the 270 electoral votes he needs to win the presidency. These margins in these states reflect how the electoral landscape might look in a Trump plus 4.08 national environment, taking into account not only the shift in the national mood, but also the specific dynamics and trends within each state. That does it though for today's video. Feel free to let me know in the comment section what you think of this map, as well as any other videos you would like to see in the future. Shout out to my channel members on screen here. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to become a member, go ahead and click that join button below this video to receive exclusive perks. Also, make sure to join the EPO Discord channel. The link is in the description to interact with other members of this community. Finally, be sure to check out electionpredictionsofficial.com for my latest 2024 presidential election forecast. You can check out more content from my channel here, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. EP out.